Thank you so much. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in today. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Sulbi Kumar, and I am the founder and chief mentor at the Dream Catchers. I again, like just like our every other webinar, we always have few regular attendees and even some of my students, and even a lot of new registrations as well. So I definitely would want to take this opportunity to briefly introduce my firm, the Dream Catchers, and how we really help students. Okay, so we are an education consulting firm and we are based out of Mumbai, but we have been serving students pan India and in Middle East as well. Our mission is very simple and straightforward, that we really want to assist students in realizing their dream of obtaining quality and best fit education. Of course, there are multiple ways through which we do it, and I'll just today briefly talk about some of our services which helps the student in terms of realizing their dream of obtaining quality and best fit education. Now, for grade 8 to till I say entire spectrum till grade 12, where the immediate need for a grade 8 student is to choose the right subject combinations, have the right stream which can get aligned with the course options or career options they are thinking, right? And of course, there are plenty of subject options available these days, especially if we talk about, international boards, be it Cambridge or be it IB. But even with the advent of national education policy, even CBSE, ICSE, and to some extent even state boards are widening their subject options. And as it always happens, if there is a lot of options, then sometimes it can lead to the problem of plenty. So we do the hand holding with the child to help them shortlist the right subject and stream combination. And how do we really do that? We start with something called a psychometric assessment, which is more of a quantitative lens for us, and it's a scientific method to see what's the child's or student's aptitude, what are their foundational personality traits, what are their work interest areas. Now, this is something which we do not administer on each and every child. It is case to case basis. And of course, this is not the platform to really go deeper into when we will run the psychometric assessment and when we will not. But when a students enroll with us, we have a detailed conversation with the family and then we decide. Now, through our individualized and personalized guidance session, we really expose the student to different career tracks. We run entire career discovery and exploration exercise in a way which helps the student understand what that particular career track is and what is the requirement for that. And wherever there is a need to create a detailed action plan, and again, this is case to case basis, we get into that too. Of course, a child needs to be exposed to different educational pathways for the career options or career pathways they are thinking of. And through our guidance sessions, we get into that exercise too. So that's primarily on the career guidance side. The other spectrum is admission guidance, which is primarily higher education admission guidance, wherein we provide consultation and guidance service both for undergrad and postgrad admissions in India as well as overseas. Now, in India, primarily for undergrad, it's the new age universities which are looking beyond the grade 12 marks and entrance tests. They are looking for something more in terms of deciding whether that student is the right fit for the institute or not. So, and if the student decides to apply overseas, then depending upon the country, the requirements also changes. So, for example, any country which is considering holistic admission process, a student's profile becomes very important. Beyond academic, what is their profile? So what we do is we help with this the student on this journey in terms of discovering what their current profile is, how we can elevate in the most organic way, mapping it to their natural strengths, and the courses which they are thinking of doing, required work around that, and suggesting what is required more to be done to elevate their profile. And if they are thinking of applying again overseas, then uh, which is the right country for that specific course. And of course, there are multiple factors as well, which is considered. And given specifically internationally and also now in India, courses have a lot of flavors, right? So to help them understand and finally shortlist, that's also something which we help in. Now, best fit college mapping, because see, it's easier to get carried away by, cream dala cream names or Ivy Leagues, but maybe that's not the right fit for you, or maybe that is, right? So we also help in that exercise where we help the child create a balanced college list, especially if they're applying to international destinations. Now, as I mentioned, that college admissions these days requires something which is more than just the marks or entrance score. So there are a lot of essay prompts, supplemental essays, personal statements, again, depending upon the destination. So we help the student to really write their most authentic voice and their own narrative, again in their own voice. So there's a lot of hand holding and guidance which is provided there. In many scenarios, interview is an important part of the selection process, more so in postgrad, but even in undergrad, many of the universities, and again, depending upon the program as well, even in India as well, right? There are like mini presentations, interviews, whatnot. So we help the child or the student be prepared and present their most confident self and most informed self in that interview through running a lot of mock interviews and helping them understand themselves better so that they can present themselves better. Okay. If you're applying for an international destination, visa is a very, very important element. So we do provide guidance on visa, statement of purpose, and we have also collaborated with visa experts who really help you in a way that the chances of rejections are minimum. Okay, so the point here is, see, when it comes to admissions or life in general, we cannot control the outcome of our efforts. But what we can really control is the process. So we ensure that the process is done right so that the outcome is favorable. Okay, I hope that helps all of you to understand how we have been helping students over the years and how our services can really help you in your educational journey per se. With that, I would want to move to the cream of the session today. But before that, I just want all the participants to really answer this awareness poll. And you'll not see a poll on the screen because I think one time when I was running, there was some issue with Zoho in terms of running the poll. But what you can do is, all of the participants, you can send your response to me over chat as such, because it's in webinar mode. So I will be the one who would be receiving it. It will definitely help set, specifically the questions which we are asking Kritika today, our guest speaker, to really see if what is the awareness level so that we can really tune our questions and responses accordingly. So did you come across corporate communications and public relations as a career option for the first time through our, career awareness event promotional material, or were you aware about it? So use the chat box. And okay, I've started to receive few responses. I'll just wait for maybe 10 seconds. Okay. So 70% of you said that you've heard the term, but you don't know what it exactly means. Okay. And 30% said, yes, they are aware about it. Okay, great. Let's move on. And I'll just try to, introduce in a very simple way what corporate communications and public relations professionals do or who they are. So just imagine them as a bridge as well as a shield. Bridge because through this job role, they connect the organization with the inside and outside world, be it media, customers, public, employees, and other important stakeholders to ensure smooth and clear communication. Shield, because they build and protect the company's reputation and brand. Okay, so this is a very, very simple explanation. Of course, today we have Kritika Saxena, who is head of marketing for India at TCS. First of all, Kritika, very warm welcome to you and congratulations on your recent promotion as well.
Thank you so much, Surbi. Very, very happy to be here.
So, Kritika headed corporate communications and public relations at TCS for 5 years plus, and I could not think of a better person than her to talk to our student communities, and of course, there are a few parents as well, to so that you get a good and deeper insight into what this profession is. So, without further ado, I think we can get started with the fireside chat. And Kritika, we may start with like if you can just introduce yourself and help us understand your role at TCS in greater detail.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Surbi. My career journey has been fairly vast. I've started my career as a journalist. I was very passionate about storytelling. At the heart of it, at the heart of all my dreams while I was growing up, probably the age that all you kids are, I just wanted to tell stories and tell them well, tell good stories, tell it in the right way. And that's how I became a journalist. Over a period of time, I was with CNBC TV 18, started as a reporter, grew up the ladder, and took over as the head of the chief of bureau for the Bombay and South bureau, so entirely heading the corporate bureau. At some point, I started thinking about what next. And that is the conversation, the what next conversation. I would literally tell everybody watching that once you start, once you enter the corporate world, always ask yourself, what next? Am I doing what I love? Am I learning? Am I understanding? Am I able to push myself? Am I breaking the ceiling, pushing the ceiling higher and higher? Being able to stretch my limits and break my boundaries. And those are the questions I was asking myself. I was about 15 to 16 years in terms of work experience, and you have to ask what next. A little more than that, I think. Anyways, and at that point, TCS happened. I took over as the head of global corporate communications and public affairs for TCS. What's very interesting about these two roles, right? Journalism, a journalist, an anchor, and a communications professional, is that at the heart of it, it is about storytelling. It is about communicating correctly. So let me just give you an overview of what I do as a corporate communications professional. My job is to effectively take care or be the mouthpiece of the organization, train the organization to tell the right stories, and sometimes, and that's where my former role is so important, find the right stories as well. TCS has today around 600,000 people. We were at around 500,000 people when I joined in 2020. It was the thick of the pandemic. And a big part is there is some game-changing work being done. And, in my first 3 months, I saw that the kind of work that's being done is fantastic. But yes, which is effectively journalists, which is just common people, just you and me, right? The external world doesn't necessarily know these stories. Now, it is very important to communicate these stories. Now, whether somebody watches these stories in the form of a report on CNN IPM or in the form of a beautifully told story on LinkedIn, that doesn't matter. There are many vehicles, social media, there are multiple vehicles, but and it's not just the common population, even our employees, they don't necessarily know what's happening in the company, right? They don't know. Somebody sitting in there doesn't know maybe they may be doing AI, but they may not fully be clued in to what the AI strategy is that the management is thinking. So the job of, or rather, let me just explain, my job as a corporate communication professional was to work across teams, across management. You effectively become the soul of the organization and at the same time the mouthpiece altogether, where you are keeping the company honest and at the same time doing what's necessary, telling the stories to all important stakeholders, be it customers, be it investors, be it employees, through various channels that you can deploy, be it through an influencer, be it through social media, be it through a message that you're sending to your employees. All these modes are the job of a corporate communication professional. Over and above that, even helping the company decide what your message, what your story should be of 10 years later. What is your current, what's your past been, and how do you strategize how your messaging and your story is going to be 10 years later? Do you want to be an AI first organization? Do you want to be an employee-led organization? What your values really are? Otherwise, it's a very, world is just disorganized and chaotic, right? Corporate communications, and my job as a corporate communications professional is putting structure to this. And that is why I was promoted to the head of marketing, because now typically in organizations, marketing again is as the word suggests, right? You market the company. Communications often sits under marketing because it's beautifully put together. You can't look at communication without marketing. And that's why when it made sense to understand who would be the right person, a communications professional was considered, a former journalist, that too. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And through
I know
your
there was a long
response,
answer to be.
but it was actually very helpful, and it in a way answered few of my other questions as well. So thank you so much for that response, Kritika. And I just want to mention to the participants here, because I missed out mentioning it earlier. You all can ask your questions live to Kritika as well. Just put it in the chat box. I will enable your setting and you can ask it. Or if you want me to ask on your behalf, I can also do so. But please take this opportunity to ask any questions you have in your mind, and I would say make the most of it. Okay. With that, let me move on to my next question. So maybe Kritika, through your response, our audience got like a 50,000 feet view. Now let's dive little deeper into it and maybe give us a closer look in terms of helping understand what is the typical day or a week of a corporate communications and public relations professional, especially more like an entry level person in the team, because here we have like primarily high school students and few undergrads as well. So once they start their journey, of course, they will not immediately land up in middle management or senior management. They will start mostly at an entry level. So just share your, inputs there. That would really help.
Okay, absolutely. So as a PR professional or a corporate communications professional, again, because I started as a journalist, I took over as the head of communications and PR. And the logic again there is very sound, because a lot of journalists move into the corporate communication side to be able to handle the strategy aspect. But as a PR or a comms professional, look, your job, let's take it twofold. Okay, one is the strategy aspect. So you are going to be a part of a team that is understanding what the message is, what the future should be, what the policies are, what the governance is. So one part is the thinking aspect. So you have to constantly innovate. You have to watch, you have to govern, you have to understand what's happening. You also have to take care of, externally who's talking where. So all of that is, there are sets of different organizations have different policies. So you sort of follow those, right? But if you're starting out as a professional, your primary job is going to be, again, that also I'm going to break into two. One is going to be keeping a tab on what is being covered, right? So keeping your first job, you're going to start your day with understanding what stories are out there. So if you're with company A, your day is going to start with understanding how the company has been covered across. If you're doing external communications, okay, you're going to be studying what, especially public relations, you'll first start your day with understanding company A's all media reports that are there at maybe 6 a.m., 7 a.m., depending on what your boss asks you to do, across all the media universe, across the global landscape. It's very easy to monitor. There are agencies that you end up working with. Now keep in mind, break this into two. There is corporate communication and there's public relations. Okay, public relations is effectively, often there are PR agencies who work with the corporate communications professionals. Okay, so the agencies, if you're a corporate communications professional, you'll be working with the agencies to source that. If you're with an agency that is a PR agency, the PR agency is going to be working with different monitoring agencies that monitor. It's basically, you have to understand what is being talked about in the universe, right? About this company A. What exactly is out there? What is media saying? Media. What is social media saying? There are social listening tools that you constantly have to monitor. So you start the day with taking a status check of what is happening. From an employee communications point of view, there are employee assessment and understanding tools. So you take stock. So that is a huge part of it. Corporate communication across the board. The next stage is interviews, is pitching the right stories to media professionals, making sure you get the right professionals across your organization, talking to media, talking to customers, talking to employees, talking to, the right, it could be, say, for instance, if you have a company portal, right? You will also have, that's a platform. So you will have the ability to, if your CEO wants to communicate a message, you have to make sure that CEO is talking to its employees through your portal, to media in the form of interviews, to customers maybe in the form of one-on-one meetings, or in the form of sending a video message. So there are these multiple layers to it, but assessing, that is monitoring, and proactive pitching and dissemination of information and the correct messaging is what's effectively going to be your day-to-day job.
Got it. Great. I have already received 2 questions, but Mahima and Sapna, just allow me few more minutes. Let me cover few of the foundational questions I have, and then I'll take yours. Okay, so Kritika, if you can help us understand what kind of educational background is typically required for a career in this field, and are there any specific subjects or degrees which you would recommend for students? And generally, I'm keeping in mind even your background as well. Is it like journalism and mass media folks can only look at this career track, or is it something which is wide open and people from different educational background can really look for it? I know it's a long question, but in a nutshell, what is your view on the educational background which can serve this profession well?
That's a really good point. Okay, again, let's break this up. One aspect is what courses are out there. There is a Bachelor's of Mass Media course at your bachelor level that you can do. It helps you go across the board. You go into multiple aspects of the BMM course has several subjects per year, but it doesn't help you specialize. So BMM is absolutely recommended if you want to get a broader view of BMM, of Bachelor's of Mass Media. There is PR, there is multiple areas. You also, of course, have history, literature, everything, right? And then in the final year, you get to choose between journalism and advertising. So you can pick. As a PR professional, it's very important to understand and learn journalism. It's not necessary, but it'll really help you grow in your career. You need to be a good writer. You need to be a good journalist to actually be a solid PR professional. Not that you can't otherwise, but it really helps. It gives you an added advantage. So I would say do a BMM, and you can specialize in, if you're doing your master's, you can think about specializing in public relations and mass media or mass communications. Focus on mass communications because that helps you understand a variety of subjects. So these other modes that you have several diplomas across public relations, corporate communications, communication as an industry as well, which you could do at a later stage. But keep in mind, even journalism, I have seen some fantastic journalists. There's something, you need to have domain knowledge and you need to have fantastic English, and especially journalists who end up going into PR. It really helps if you have really, really good grammar. I have actually seen some really, really good, successful people who have done BCom, who've done literature, and moved on to specializing in a course and then taking on. So, for instance, I know so many. So, because I was with CNBC, I used to know a lot of journalists who did BCom and went into business journalism because I was with CNBC, right? It was a business news channel. And it works beautifully because you have the domain knowledge. Similarly, there was somebody who I'd hired somebody in TCS who was an engineer who went on to doing a diploma in journalism, became a journalist, and then came into TCS because it worked perfectly. It's an engineer who knows how to do, who knows how to write, and who's also a good journalist, right? So the amazing thing about these allied fields is that there's a lot of interconnectedness. You need to tell the story well. I'll keep coming back to that. You need to tell the story well, and you need to understand the various areas of mass communications you have. So focus on mass communications and make sure you get a specialization in whatever subject you want to do. Corporate communication, public relations is one subject, yes. So you do that as a diploma. But the final question that you said, which I think I answered, effectively, no matter what you do, you have the scope of being able to expand within corporate communications and public relations. You definitely can. However, there's a little bit of specialization that's necessary. And one big thing that I will say to everybody, I started working when I was, I think, 15 years old or 14 years old. Like I started writing, I started.
Amazing.
No, because in these fields, Surbi, and I'm sure you would have also had those experiences. In these fields, you need to, it's very hands-on, beyond a point. It's not just theory. You need to explore, you need to learn. So just stay focused on learning and do as much work as you can. Mess up if you need to, make mistakes. But so if you start early, by the time you're 22, 23, you have so many skills. You're not necessarily going to be, you're probably, and say by the time you're 30, you're going to be ahead of your peers. I was the youngest chief of bureau in CNBC. I became chief of bureau at 28. So
Wow.
And that's like very, yeah. And I was fairly young when I took on as the head of communications. You typically head of corporate communications is 45, 50. I think I was 34 when I took over as head of corporate communications. So yeah.
Amazing journey, and I think amazing achievements as well, Kritika. So thank you so much for shedding light on the right education which can serve a person well in this profession. So I think in a way, Mahima, it answers your question, but still I'll read it out. So Kritika, Mahima had a question which is, I would want to study English at an undergrad level. What can I do more to start working in this field? Which is in a way you answered as well. But do you have anything more to add to?
So Mahima, what I'd say, do English literature. Okay. And do either you take on a diploma in mass media, right? So do a post-graduation in mass media. You can consider Symbiosis, which is really good. You can consider ACJ is very hardcore into journalism. They're fantastic. They've produced some of the best journalists in the country. That is another option that you have. So look at some of these. There's XIMC, Xavier has that. So there are a lot of these post-graduation courses. If you're very sure, till one thing that I was very sure at an early age, and luckily life worked out for me, and life eventually works out, guys. But I feel what's very important is explore your options. Halka sa bhi doubt ho, then take some time to think it through, and then when you're very, very sure, then you go down that route. So keep your options open. Make sure that you're not you don't want to specialize in public relations in post-grad and then realize, oh my God, I want to do something else. I want to do advertising. I maybe want to do a larger marketing thing. I want to do digital marketing, right? So you can even think of doing a marketing course and then get into corporate communications, by the way. So keep those options open in your post-grad. Specialize further if you need to. But do your postgrad in a larger mass communications, maybe a marketing course as well, which has communications and public relations as a piece of
it. I hope that answers your question, Mahima. And if you have a follow-up, just let me know. I can enable your setting. Okay, she said thank you so much. Okay, so thanks, Kritika, for taking her question. Now, let me move on to my next question, which is, again, help us understand what is really the career advancement in this field. If a person is starting from an entry-level role, what all they can look at in terms of opportunities of advancements. And I would take it one step ahead. One is like a natural advancement. What else they can do once they have some experience in corporate communications and public relations?
Okay, interesting. That's a very important question. What I would say is start maybe with an agency, because agencies, through a PR agency, you end up working across customers, so clients effectively. So you'll be working across different brands, getting a lot of experience. It's going to be a little tiring and exhausting. The scale of work is crazy, but I would always say get that agency experience so you know how things work. How you can progress is you can you can move to the corporate communication side of it. So if you're working in a PR agency, you move to the corporate communication side. So here you've understood how PR agencies work, because as a corporate communications professional, you will have to work with PR agencies to make them work well. To actually be effective, you need an agency to be working with you. Okay, so understand how an agency works. Okay, understand, then move on to the corporate side, and then grow up the ladder in corporate communications. After you do that, now, should you not want to go into the corporate communication side, stick to the PR agency side. You keep growing levels, right? You start being an executive, you move further up the ladder. You maybe become a account director, where you'd end up handling an entire account. You may end up heading a sector. It's like even journalism has these layers. You first start young as a reporter, then you start heading one particular thing. You may head technology and have multiple reporters. PR agency is also very similar that way. So you could become a director, then you move further up the ladder, where you go into, you can specialize. So you can think of specializing into content, you can specialize into visual content, you can specialize into perhaps even the marketing side of it, influencer marketing. You can get into different areas. So there's a lot of growth that you have to do in both, be it in an agency or be it in corporate communications. Now, there are multiple ways that you split corporate communication. There's content, there is media relations, where you're just talking to the media, building relationship with the media. In content, you're working across, actually creating content. There's also production, where you produce. You work with agencies, you work with creative agencies. You do different layers. Depending on your organization, you can start specializing in these and then grow up the ladder over there. So comms and PR opens a whole wide universe, which eventually will take you into the marketing and brand side. You can even scale further and become a marketing head or become a brand head of a company, because even as a brand person, you need to have knowledge of what the messaging should be, what the look should be, what the feel should be, what the creative should be, right? So you can go to the brand side of it. Brand side typically looks into what is the logo, what should our theme be, what is our messaging, what is our tagline, what is our brand side works on the look and feel. You work on advertising. You can even further expand into those areas. So there's a huge universe of it. At some point, I have actually seen a lot of corporate communications professionals move into strategy as well. Eventually, I remember the Cognizant corporate communications head, who I used to work with as a journalist, went on to becoming the India head of the company, because he understood the strategy. He understood so I would say that even being a CEO eventually is something that you should aspire to do, because that is how you need to grow. But it is important to not just stick to one, to multiple things. And yes, you can specialize, but make sure that you have the capability to always think strategy. Think what is 10 years ahead what effectively is going to be your strategy 10 years ahead. That's very important.
Okay, so
thinking hat on.
Okay, just not being like execution focused, but having a big picture in mind and strategy.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I think that was a very detailed answer, and it covered both the aspects. There is one question which I have received, and that was earlier itself from Sapna, but maybe I can just take it here itself. She has asked that I am a math student, so can I still pursue it? Sapna, do you want to go live and elaborate on it? Okay. So her question is maths used in this field? And actually, that was maybe I should rather ask my next question, and you can put in or like try to respond to Sapna's question there as
If
well.
I can answer that, I think just simply
Mhm.
like I said, you can, you can, if you're into maths. What I would recommend is get into business. If you want to do communications and public relations, get into the business side and help and handle, because you understand, if you're good in finance, you're good in stats, you're good in data, it'll really give you an edge in companies that need help with financial communications. So you can specialize into that.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. At least you can combine some level of domain expertise with these communication and PR related skill sets, core skill sets as well. Okay. Again, my next question is around skills and competencies. And Kritika, in your earlier responses, you have already highlighted that storytelling, writing is an important skill and competency to have. What beyond that? And to an extent, like I think with your recent response to Sapna, even like how much analytical, data driven capabilities are needed to influence your work. So broadly, besides storytelling and writing, what are the other skills and competencies which are needed?
Strategic thinking. So there are a lot of courses that help you understand business models, help you understand how you should be looking at strategy. So strategic thinking, yes. Understanding organizational behavior and understanding processes. That's very important. It's very important to have, you need to plan things very strategically. So you have to be able to bucket things out, and that's going to really help you in the long run. So you need to be able to have the ability to organize yourself, to be able to work across data sets. So understanding, okay, this is the scale of work, now let's break it up into different parts, let's structure it smartly. So that's understanding organizational behavior and structural thinking. That's very, very important. Finally, I would say it's becoming very crucial to understand AI, because artificial intelligence opens up a world of skill sets for you. It's going to make you better. So it'll not just refine your writing, it'll refine your thinking, it'll help you, it'll be a very important complementary set. So I would definitely say understand AI, to make sure that AI is only going to be as good as you are. So make sure that you understand AI to be able to. So, for instance, you don't necessarily need to know how to design, okay, but it'll help. It'll give you a benefit. You don't need to know captions, or you don't need to be a fantastic advertiser. But Gen AI is going to help you if you're a corporate communications professional and you need to do a social media post, right? It's going to help you design something. So it's going to give you a big competitive advantage. So in today's day and age, I think that is very important to make you better.
It. Uh, I have got one other question.
One very important thing that I missed, Surbi, was also just as a communications professional, you need to communicate, right? So very important part is speech and diction and presentation skills. Now, not everybody has it, but that will really, really help. And the interpersonal ability to talk to each other, even if you're an introvert, to be able to, like, I mean, eventually it's all about building relationships and having those relationships. If a company has a big crisis and the comms professional or the PR professional has a relationship with the journalist, they'll be able to say that, no, this is not correct. Hold on, I'm going to tell you the right story. So having that grounding and that interpersonal skills, they're very important. So even if you're somebody who doesn't like it, build it as a skill set so that you can do better here.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Kritika. And I think it comes handy in every profession as such, but more so in this one. Great. Okay. So I will take Pranay's question now because it's slightly different here. Okay. So Pranay has asked, I am a person with disability. Does this job require a lot of travel to multiple offices, or can I do it from my home or one office itself?
You can do it from home. You definitely can. It's important to work with an organization here, Pranay, which understands and has a lot of inclusive and flexible options. So focus on understanding the company that you're working for. Do they have good inclusivity policies? Make it very clear to your employer whenever you're taking up a job that this is very, very necessary. And figure out a way where you can work it out. See, eventually the person you're working for has to be somebody that you are able to have these conversations with. So work that out with whoever it is that you are going to be reporting to, that this is eventually, the truth is you can do everything. Yes, a little bit of interpersonal for as a PR. So I would say don't join an agency, join a company, because in an agency you have to go physically and meet people. But there's a lot of work that you can do across content. You can do pitch work. I think content would be a very important area that you can do very well virtually.
Okay. And yeah, generally, I think many organizations have very, inclusive policies as well. But glad, Pranay, that you asked this question so that like whatever you do, you can execute it well. That's what is the key. So thank you for asking this question. And there is another question from Parth. Okay, so I'll read it out. I'm aware about this profession, but I have seen that it has females in it. Are males also open for this? I think Parth is mainly trying to ask like any kind of gender preference or anything of that sort. I think that's what his question is.
Absolutely not. It is. I've seen some of the best PR professionals who are men as well. I mean, there's no gender. In fact, this is one profession that there's absolutely no gender bias, be it a man or a woman. You just need to be a good storyteller at the core of it.
Thank you so much for that, Kritika. Okay, now I'll pause in terms of audience questions. I see 2, 3 more, but let me move on to my next question, which in a way will cover theirs too. So generally for these sessions, Kritika, we ask the guest speaker, who is like an industry practitioner like you, to also shed some light on the rewards of this profession as well as challenges. And rewards, both monetary, non-monetary, what kind of remunerations they can expect. And sometimes certain careers really look rosy from outside, but a professional who has lived that journey can tell you the challenges as well. So please cover both these aspects for us.
So rewards, absolutely. I mean, there's monetary rewards for sure. Once you keep in mind the pay scale, the starting pay scale is a little weak. But as you grow up the ladder, I would always say voice your opinion very clearly, but at the same time have patience, because eventually it does pay up. You need to fight for what's important. But in terms of monetary compensation, make your preferences very clear early on, but that's going to come a little in the mid stage of your career. So monetary compensation is one aspect of it. Depending on which company you're working for, there are different benefits that different employers provide. So definitely work for employers that help you understand those. More importantly, I think it's the reward of doing what you really like doing, right? I feel at the core of everything, if you love your work, right, then, I mean, I know it's a corny thing to say, but if you love your work, you'd never sort of work anytime in life, right? So it's important to be able to do that. So I would say keep self-rewarding yourself. Eventually the external stuff is wo aata jata rahega, and trust me, like I mean, I started at a salary of some 18,000. I know my friends who are probably at 3 crore rupees who started at 5,000. So trust me, those rewards will eventually come. Just keep focused and keep doing your job better and love what you do.
Great. Let me take this next question. This is from Rosina, and she's joining us from Dubai, Kritika. She's saying, is it a very public facing role? Because me and my family, we are not comfortable with a very public facing role.
Okay. If you go into a content stream, then maybe not. But public relations and communications, by the very definition, is public facing. So, yeah, you should think about it, because if you have a very conservative family which has very specific restrictions as to what you can or cannot do, in across mass communications, your areas are going to be limited, and your growth is going to be limited. So, I would say stand for whatever it is that you want to do, and make sure that you are setting your rules and not anyone else but you.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Now, let me move on to this next question, which in a way you have covered, but what we really want to understand is because AI is impacting, all different industries and job roles, right? What kind of impact do you see on the corporate communications and public relations industry or profession as such? Do you still foresee that the demand for the professionals would be there, or is AI really going to, the harsh word these days is replace, right? I know it can augment the role, but what's your take, or what do you see in terms of demand of the profession as such, maybe next 5 years per se?
Well, the demand is just going to be doing this in a better and stronger way, and doing it at scale, because it's no longer going to be just limited. It's going to be doing multiple things, multiple data sets. So the scaling is important. And here is where AI again is going to be complementary. You will need to understand AI to use it to your benefit. So what you need to understand when you're doing AI is the right prompts. I was literally discussing this with my global AI head just like an hour ago. It's just very important to be able to understand what prompts, how you're using it, what are the AI tools at your disposal. But I give you an assurance: AI is not replacing. AI is not going to think for you. AI is not going to think of ideas. They're not going to be creative. It's eventually going to be your brain. So the creativity lies in you. So read, explore, think, make yourself. So you can't just be. It's just not just skill sets, right? You should be able to have a vision. The vision is going to be yours. AI is going to help you do it. So always remember that. If you lose the vision, that's where that's a problem.
Got it. And Kritika, just help us understand, like currently, and maybe we can just take TCS as one example because it may vary from organization to organization. But generally speaking, how big is the in-house corporate communication and public relations team itself, like excluding the agency partners or so?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I couldn't hear you clearly, Surbi.
Okay, so my question is that at TCS particularly, because it may vary from company to company, but how big is the corporate communications and public relations team, X of the PR agency partners as such?
So at the moment, my team is sort of spread out right now because I've taken some. But effectively, PR communications is between 3 to 10 people in one team, excluding the PR side of it.
Okay. Okay. And this is like for a company as big as TCS as such, right? So you're saying 3 to 10 in-house members.
Yes, correct.
Okay, got it. Okay. Now let us just try to maybe demystify some of the common misconceptions with this career track or profession as such. Anything which you have commonly come across, which people assume that this profession is, and maybe you would want to take this platform to bust that myth or clarify so that people have a real picture there.
I would say it's there's a myth, and I had that myth as a journalist, that it's grunt work and that nobody knows anything. They just have to run after journalists. That's not the case. It's a lot of strategic thinking. Even people who go into the profession think that, oh, it's just about that getting journalists to do something. It's not. That's not the case. It's so much more than that. It's so much of strategic thinking. It's so much of policy. It's so much of governance. It's so much of so it's not just grunt work or just running after people, or jo hote hai PR log hain or whatever. It's actually defining the way a company can and will think, and what the potential that I actually feel that whether a company can make it in the next 100 years, it's up to this set of professionals to be able to help them form that. You're a part of that. And there's a myth that, PR is just a support function. It's not. It's a part of the core strategy of an organization. And an organization can't survive if they don't respect and value PR.
So in a way, it's a very, very critical role.
Very,
And if
very.
there are any assumptions that it is not,
Yeah, I mean,
as you
basically
have
the
busted
myth is
that
that
myth.
it's a support function. It's actually not. I mean, unfortunately, some companies still treat it like that, but it's not a support function. It's a part of your strategy. It's a part of your long-term vision.
Thank you so much for that once again, Kritika. Now, let me just take you back in your journey, and maybe if you can just go back in time and see if there is anything which you could have done differently in your career journey. Uh, in hindsight, I know everyone reflects and think, oh, I should have done it this way or that way, but sometimes we learn from others' journey as well, right? So if there is something which you feel like you could have done differently and it would have given a different lever to your career, maybe you can help us understand that too.
Specialization should be. I think specialization is very important because it's important to. I think I would have perhaps gone into either a BCom or a literature before I did anything else. I would have studied. It's really important to know the domain knowledge. So what I would always say is understand. So for instance, right now I'm in an IT organization. I need to know IT. So I really keep trying to learn. So similarly, whatever field you're going into, understand the domain knowledge. That's very important. And that's one mistake I sort of realized much later on in my life.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that, very honest answer. And definitely, uh, I see that students, if they can reflect on it and carve their journey accordingly, that would really help. Okay, now, Kritika, because you are in a senior management role, and definitely you would be responsible for creating and setting up teams too, right? You have mentioned about certain core skills and competencies needed, but I would want to take it one step ahead. So when you're hiring, especially fresh graduates, right, in your team, what kind of qualities you're really looking for? What really makes the mark or makes the cut, and what is something which is like a non-negotiable as such?
Okay, someone who's adaptable, who can. So obviously, the regular skill sets we already talked about, right? What ends up not making the cut is somebody who is very rigid in the way they think that I want life, like I want this kind of a job and I will not, this is exactly what I can do, what I cannot do. I can't travel, I can't do this. An organization can adapt to you, but this particular role, unfortunately, needs you to be very adaptable and to be able to think fast, to work fast. So I would say that aspect ends up becoming a deal breaker for me. Someone, it's I'll tell you eventually, will be the people who I have rejected, when I'm hiring, are usually people who don't have the right attitude. It's all about attitude. Are you kind? Are you soft? Can you actually make conversation with people? Do you like people? Can you you need kindness, you need goodness, you need someone who's willing to understand, willing to have a conversation, willing to learn. If it's a my way or the highway attitude, no matter how talented you are, if you're not willing to adjust on that, I wouldn't. I would rather have someone who can be skilled up, uh, who has the right attitude, who is able to work in a team. You need to be able to work in a team. You need to be able to work with people, be nice to people, work across skill sets.
It. I think very, very important. Attitude over aptitude, because aptitude is something which still can be trained or built, but attitude is very, very hard to change. So generally speaking, Kritika, when say for example, a management trainee is joining your team uh, or the organization, is there any structured program within this department which trains the person to build up these skills if they have the right attitude but they lack somewhere in the skills? Is there any structured program as well, or is it like on the job learning, get going from day one kind of thing?
The truth is organizations don't have that many programs across comms and PR. So I would say always look at external courses. There are a lot of courses available across LinkedIn, across Coursera. There are so many different courses that are available. So I would say go through that route because organizations typically will focus on the core domain that they are selling. So if it's an IT organization, they look at engineers. So for engineers, there's a lot of this
Yeah.
thing. But even within the organization, there's a lot for marketeers as well. But for comms and PR, I would say very few organizations have that. It's better to learn externally.
Okay, got it. So I know we have 5 minutes in hand, and I want to be respectful of your time and everyone's time. So I would want to close it at the hour itself. So I'll continue with one question, and then I'll just briefly move on to some lighter questions as well. So, any final piece of advice to high school students? And as I said, with through our registrations, we also received few folks who are pursuing their undergrad as well. So, what is your advice if they are looking seriously to pursue this career as such?
Be open, be flexible, be strategic, um, and be adaptable to the world. Learn as much as you can. Never stop learning. Yeah, I think that's my. And just keep focused on loving what you do, because if you don't love it, you're not going to, nothing is going to make sense. Then just you really need to enjoy it. अगर ऐसा लगता है कि you're not enjoying it as much, then you should think about something else.
Great. Thank you so much for that wonderful advice. Now, Kritika, let's just understand a little bit about you beyond you as the head of India marketing at TCS and former, corporate communications and public relations professional as such. So, one fun fact about you, Kritika.
One fun fact about me as a comms professional.
No, in general.
One fun fact about me. Okay, not really fun, but people think when you rise up in the corporate ladder, you stop doing fun things. I'm an OTT junkie completely. Like I have issues. I can watch OTT like endless. My sister's in HR. The two of us have like this. We go on marathon. My entire family, we can just sit and watch. Like we can watch a show for hours at a stretch. So I find that time for myself. So and that's my that's my stress relief. So yeah, I'm an OTT junkie.
Nice, nice. Okay, if not this field, and I'm covering journalism as well as corporate marketing, then alternatively, what you would have pursued?
I think I would have been a lawyer. I would have definitely been a lawyer, if not comms, marketing, and journalism. Lawyer.
Okay, great. Tell me more about it. Why law?
You need the same skill sets. I mean, you need to be able to talk, you need to be able to convince, you need to be able to think at like 7 tangents in one go, handle like multiple stakeholders in one shot, and take care and focus on the outcome. So skill sets are very similar. So I think I would have done that. Guys, and I'm really sorry to say, but lawyers, at least in the initial stage, make a little better money than comms people do. You'll eventually make money. Whatever you're doing, if you love it, you'll make money. But for shuru mein na, it's very difficult to do journalism and comms if you're too focused on the money aspect in the first, like at least the first 5 years.
Yeah, and very well said, because sometimes, students and even families, parents, they become very myopic, and then they just start looking at the starting salary. But a career is a very, very long, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, right? So you have to think from all the aspect, the longevity of that career, and over time with the right skill sets, you can really earn well. There is no limit, and irrespective of the profession you are in, if you do it well, if you take the right calls at the right time, and to an extent luck is also on your side, a bit of luck, then things can work in your favor too. Okay, if you could have any one superpower, what would it be?
Flying. 100%. Just the idea of being able to fly and feel the wind, just be completely be everywhere. Oh, but yes, I would also love to heal people. So I would love to have a power to. So I'm going to pick two. I would love to have the power to heal. I would love to have the power to fix ailments, to heal at scale. So I'm a pranic healer as well. So I think that's a little bit of it.
That's one fact which we got to know about you, besides your current professional role.
And the fact that I'm an
last but not the least, one favorite book and one favorite quote.
Quote I can't think of right now, but oh my god, I love the Prophet. If you've seen Khalil Gibran, profit. There's so many quotes from that. I mean, it's endless. But I think Khalil Gibran, basically, if anyone doesn't know Profit, Profit is basically a collection of about roughly 26 to 28 different poetries, and it's just out of the world because it helps you go little deeper into your day-to-day life, and it's sort of, day-to-day, it's basically just about different relationships, just living differently just a little bit. And yeah, there's, in fact, I think there's so many. There's on love, there's on friendship, so many different quotes that are just out of the world. There's one, I think, that says that talks about how your children are not born off you. They're, you are the instrument, basically, that is, the kids are going to have a life of their
Born
own
from.
eventually. Yeah, it's there in Profit. Yeah.
Great. Well, then, thank you so much, Kritika, for all the insights which you provided. Very, very helpful. And I'm sure this will help the participants here to make an informed decision about this career and even build the right skill set. So, thank you so much for sparing 1 hour today. I know how busy you are. In last few weeks itself, I have come to realize that you have a lot many things on your plate, but still you took out time and you
My pleasure.
agreed to give back to the student community. So truly appreciated, Kritika. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Surbi. And congratulations for all the great work that you guys are doing. I think it's very
Thank you.
important to get the right information out. Then you're getting, people like real world experiences, which I don't think anybody else is providing out there in the world. And I mean, I'm sure people are doing different things, but I think rather than just the theory, you're bringing the practical world to everybody that's listening. So whoever's watching, please grab these opportunities to be able to, get that insight, because that insight and knowledge and that real world experience is something that's unbeatable.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Kritika. That is my effort to bring the authentic voices on these platforms. Having worked in like corporate for 15 years myself, and and even talking to students and realizing there is so much that they don't know and then still take the decision. So people like you who agree to come on our platform, I think we owe you a lot because you are trying to give that authentic voice and insight into your profession. So thank you so much once again. And thank you to each of the participants who came today and joined and again spared your 1 hour. I'm sure it would be a productive 1 hour for you. And I would just want to end with the most commonly used line these days, like please like, share and subscribe our different social media platforms. We will continue putting efforts in bringing the right folks to our career awareness sessions. And even we do admission insight sessions where we invite admissions officers from different universities. And these are free webinars. I'm pretty sure you will have a very good 1 hour with us. So make the most of this opportunity. Thank you and have a good rest of your weekend. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.